Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to episode 119 of A Naughty Mess Knitting Podcast. Alright, it looks so dark in my office right now, so sorry about that. It's not actually nighttime. I am filming. It is early in the morning, so there's not a lot of sun, but I just have this, I know I've told you this before, I have a small window in my office. I have a laurel bush, which means when we're in the great dark, which is right now, it just looks dark in here all the time. Like it looks midnight-ish. Okay, that's enough about that. Hi, for anyone who's new here, hi, and welcome to my little corner of the internet where we talk about all things by Bree goodness. Today, we're going to talk about all the normal things that I cover, which is what I'm wearing, what I finished, which I have one finished object this week, yarn or all knitting, crochet, whatever projects. I'll give a spinning update. I will give an acquisition update and some project plans. I think we'll go through some project plans this week because I have not cast anything new on in like a while other than these socks, which are done. Spoiler alert. And I've got the, yeah, we'll just go over some things. So, hi, if you're new, my name is Megan. I live in the Pacific Northwest with my husband, Mike, our daughter, Theo, our dog, Winter, and my mom, Cindy. And we're over here just trying to enjoy some fall. Real quick, what I'm wearing. So I don't think I've worn this on the podcast since I finished it. So I am wearing like a high neck tank top. So just kind of ignore that today. But I will say the only thing I don't love about this whole sweater is the neckline. And so we can talk about that in a second. But this is the Metropolitan Pullover by Tori Yu, who is Tori Knits NYC. I knit this last November, December. It was our last unspun cow. This is my first unspun project. This is Nudidin plus a Woolberry Surrey held together. Nudidin held single. I have not shaved this one. I cannot find my gleaner. I have a little electric one, but I do have a gleaner somewhere and I want to find it. But I'm having some pilling for sure, like Surrey pilling. It's not that much, you know, and it's in the expected places, kind of just along my under of my arm and a little bit on the chest, though not as much. And so there's that. Okay. Let's just talk about this one really quick. So I've worn this many times. I do grab this, not super, I mean, I have a lot of sweaters, so not like crazy frequently, but I do grab it pretty often when it's colder. I did wear it like a lot in the winter last year. This has this really beautiful, this is a contiguous design. So you do the shoulder like cap sleeve at the same time that you're doing the like back and front. And then you do some like raglan shaping to finish the bottom before you split for sleeves, right? So that's kind of like how contiguous works. But this one, when you go to grow the sleeve, you do all these yarn overs, which is like how you create the extra stitches, but gives you this kind of like fun line. I would like to make another of these. I do enjoy this. This is so off gauge. Like the most off gauge thing that you can think of. That's what I did for this. Not on purpose necessarily, but I knew I was going to be a little off gauge because I didn't really gauge swatch. And also because this one, like Nudidin does not play super nicely. This is an open gauge sweater though. So like it's meant to be, I think her original's like a fingering plus some sort of floof held together for a DK weight sweater, but the gauge of the project is supposed to be, I think 16 stitches. Yeah, 16 stitches and 21 rows and 4 inches, which is pretty large gauge, like think Doppio-esque, but only 2 strands, not 3. So it's not as dense. Really breathable, really nice. I was at 13 stitches, which is like very far off and ended up being much. I knit a size 4 and I knew this too. I knew I was going to be a little off gauge. So I knit a size 4 thinking that I'd be like 50 inches. Yeah, I ended up with 56. 56 inches at the bust. It's very oversized. It's got like a big drape off the shoulder, which does look really relaxed. And I say that I don't love contiguous designs that are not more like set in this. I think I'd be a little happier if it was like sitting here, but I do think that this one, like by the nature, like it still looks really cute to me. And like the oversizedness of this is nice for some reason. I don't know. Don't ask me why this one I feel like is just getting away with it. Things I would change for the next time though, as I've worn this a lot, is I don't love this neckline. This is a rolled neckline, so it just kind of follows what you do for increases, and I don't love it. I just prefer like a little bit more of a traditionally circular neck. So I think what I would do next time, and I do think that you pick up and then you pick up. Yeah, you definitely still pick up stitches and then you just knit a few rows and bind off. I think what I would do is I would pick up less stitches to make it a little bit more of a closed neckline, you know, and have a little less of like the shaping that it currently has, which is like more follows like what your increases are. So I just changed that a little bit and do probably like a short ribbing, like 6 rows of ribbing. That's what I would do. Now, I don't actually mind the I-cord bind off here, but I did use a cordsmith for this and it was really tight. So for the bottom, I actually just used regular needles and I had to do it by hand. It was not that bad. Because again, there's not that many stitches in this entire sweater because it's quite over gauge. So I think next time I do this, I will knit the same size. I'll knit a size 4 again, but I will hopefully be on gauge and then it will be a totally different sweater. My row gauge is not that far off. So like, I think just, it is sitting like much drapier in my armpit. Like my armpit's way down here. So I don't know if that's like accurate or not of what I did for row gauge, but I think I would probably also like to shorten that just a little bit. So maybe doing slightly more rapid increases to just like bring that up a little. I think that would, you know, like pull this in. I guess actually, well, let's be real. If this was pulled in more, this would look a little less ridiculous. So I think I would just monitor that maybe as I go. So those are the 2 things I would change really, is the neckline, and I would just picking up differently a little bit and doing ribbing. Depending on how I feel about the mix of the yarn and whatever, I could also do ribbing on the cuff. I don't mind the balloony sleeve here, though I think a taper would be nice as well. I kind of will play with that. Like, again, if I'm less off gauge, I think this would just look like a nice taper, and this just looks like huge. And also because this is so tight. Like I do have to like push my hand through it, but it's fine. But then for the bottom, I would probably do ribbing to match. And then just let the sleeves be whatever I feel like they need to be. I do have yarn for this though. I bought this really beautiful berries and basil from Little Fiber Co. And so I'm just going to have a darker version of this, but it'll have a lot more colors in it because I am going to use a single from Malabrigo that I have that's somewhere over there, but it's like got lots of greens and pinks in it. So it'll be different. It'll look quite different. It'll be a much darker version. So that's to come. Okay. But yeah, that's all I have to share about this. I do love this sweater. This is definitely a remake for me, partly because I want to make it more my size, but also because it was just like a really enjoyable, really quick knit. And I do actually really enjoy this weird, having holes at your armpit. I don't know. It's a good breeze happening. Okay. So let's go through what I finished this week, which is socks. These are my October socks. They are finally done. I finished them on November 11th. So quite a bit behind, but I'll share with you my next sock plans. And so we can discuss. These are for my mom. They look quite short, but I did try them on her foot and they fit well. She has a wider foot, so I went with the largest size for this pattern. So this is the I'm So Basic sock pattern from Summerlee Knits. She's Summerlee Knits on Instagram. This is a free pattern. She only has like maybe 1 or 2 free patterns. But this is like just her very basic formula for a cuff down, heel, flap and gusset sock. There's so much, these have been around for one day and there's already dog hair on them. Okay. They look great. This yarn is the color is great. Yeah, they fit my mom really well. And so I shall give them to her as a late birthday present. But let me see. I don't think there's a huge difference in color across the 2. I do think this is like a redder, this is like a really small change like color variegated. I mean, there's got to be 7 or 8 colors in this, and all of them have very like short little repeats. So you only get like 3 or 4 stitches per color. You get some color overlap. There was some like color traveling happening, which I don't know if you can really tell. It's like, I can only tell in the brightest and the darkest colors. But you can see like this, yeah, like light bits going, and then the dark bits were going like in that, but then the reds don't continue quite as far across. Anyway, which is fine. I mean, it's very fun. They're very like, maybe this one just has more of that like red you can see across. Very fun. The pattern itself, I think, not that I wouldn't use it again, it was fine, but it definitely is a great resource if you are a first-time sock knitter. I would totally say if you want to do a vanilla pair of socks and you're not confident about knitting socks, or you have never knit socks, like I think you could just use this pattern and be great. She explains how to measure your foot. She explains what you're doing before each thing. I just basically ignored 70% of the pattern and was like, what stitch counts do I need? Because I was just trying it out to see how I like her vanilla sock pattern. So it was good. It's fine. No complaints. I don't know that I liked it above anything else, but I mean, very solid, easy to follow pattern. So these are done. October is done. I am very excited to just give these to her so I don't have to worry about them. I'll go over real quick, even though I have some plans to talk about at the end. These are my last four socks I have to do for the end of the year. But these are all kids socks. So I think this is my nephew. So he has the biggest feet. I'm going to do him in December. Okay, so we're going to put that one away. Also because I feel like this is very like icy, wintry. And so we'll put that one here. Then I have 2 more. So this is for the youngest niece, the oldest niece. Okay, youngest, oldest, middle. So foot size wise, we're probably, you know, like in this order. So I might go for making these 2 smaller ones this month because I don't have as much time, and they're not like much. I guess they're not super different in age, but we got an 11-year-old, an almost 9-year-old, and then a 5 and a 4-year-old. So these ones I'm definitely thinking I could get done in November, at least 1 pair done, 1 pair started. So I think I might start with these ones first because I know how big her foot is. I gotta talk to her mom for this one. They were all just at my house and I totally forgot to measure them, but that is okay. So those are the 4 socks left over. I was gonna throw a pair in for Theo, and I was gonna do whatever the Andrea Mowry, like the knit along, the Thanksgiving knit along, which I've done once or twice. And I did her hat, like I did socks and hat last year. She does socks in the fall, hat in the spring. It's always a new pattern release. She's been doing this thing where she doesn't give a discount anymore, but she donates part of the proceeds for this particular pattern, for the knit along patterns, which is great. She just released what the knit along pattern is going to be, which is this ooey gooey sock. The ooey gooey is like the everything, right? This year. I personally don't love this sock pattern. I don't want to make it, so I'm not going to. And that's my decision. And Theo just is not going to get socks this Christmas. Maybe I will still make her some, but it'll be like some basic thing if I can throw them in December. I need to start my Nana the Duck. And so that's also on my small needles. I need things to move quickly. And I know that's like 1 weekend. I have to get it done in a weekend. But we've got a lot of other stuff going around in our lives and going on in our lives. And I'm opting out for this year, and that is fine. I know these like mystery things or knit alongs are so fun to join. And I like love this kind of community aspect. And you see people like doing it at the same time, but I'm going to just opt out this year. So let's go on to what progress I made. Okay. So project number 1 to talk about, of course, is my Crosshatch hacked. And as I said last week, I'd like to get this moving. So I did a good job this week. I don't know how many inches this is, maybe like 10-ish, not quite as much as I want it to do. And I really, what I wanted to do is wanted to finish my white ball. I'm so close, but I kind of ran out of steam, but also I underestimated how much yarn was left. So I like thought that I was like, I mean, as every small ball of yarn, you're like, oh, I'll be done knitting that in 5 minutes. Yeah, no. This ball is never ending, and so I just, you know, had to do other things. But I did pick this up 2 or 3 times this week and just got a bunch done. It is feeling very, you know, like it's feeling very lengthy now. We have a good amount going here. Emily did confirm like hers grew quite a lot. And I want that growth, but I also want it to be pretty long. Like I want it to be very cozy and wrappable, and I have the yarn for it. So I'm not necessarily going to quit early. We'll sort of see. I'll probably measure it like sometime this week, maybe when I finish this white ball of yarn finally, and I'll measure it and just see where I am. I also have to find the 3rd white ball of yarn. It is somewhere, but that's on my 2nd one. So if I find that and my last ball of black, I'll put them inside my bag and put it to the side to get done. Okay, that is my crosshatch hack. It is a pattern inspired by this crosshatch pattern by Jared Flood, and I've just not using a pattern. I'm doing 2-color brioche. It's 55 stitches, in case anybody's wondering. It's 55 stitches. It's 4mm needles. I'm using a worsted and a sport light DK, which is knitting for olive, heavy merino, and Ulysse from Durarum Natura, and I am using. I did 55 stitches and 2 stitches on either end with the black, and my last stitch on both sides is black. Okay, right? So that's why there's the odd number. Okay. I'm excited to be done with it though, and I am hopeful Thanksgiving. I'll be done by Thanksgiving, if not like December 1st, which is a couple days after Thanksgiving. So that's weekend-ish time frame. So it's only 2 weeks from now, I think. I don't have that many projects on the needles, and most of them got attention this week. There's one that didn't, and we'll talk about that next. But the Elton got a lot of attention. So this is the front of this. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Okay, I did add some more rows, not a ton. I mean, a good amount, 6, maybe like 5 stripes. Okay, so my body is getting lengthy, but then I just finally went to, and that was just because, again, I didn't have like the balls caked and stuff for the sleeves, but here are the sleeves. I do think they're a little bit darker looking. They are 2nd skein, right? But I don't think it matters. I think it'll be totally fine. They're like a little bit more purpley looking, but again, that's also just because it's a small circumference, so the color repeats are going to sit closer or on top of each other more. I'm not bothered by it. I think it's really fun. I do think that it just looks like the purple looks a little bit darker or more concentrated, and even some of it is that like purple is sitting on top of purple from the fluff, so it looks like these are 2 of the different yarns, but they're making like a purple section. What else do I have to say about this? Enjoying it so far. I wove in all the ends last night that were existing, which is a lot, weirdly, for something that I've not been, cutting the ends for on the inside or anything. But I seriously had seven or something ends to weave in around the neckline because of how you pick it up and do the short rows and yada yada. There was just like a bunch of ends, plus the one from the collar. So I wove all those in. Didn't cut them, but they're woven in. Sleeves are woven in, armpits are woven in, sleeves and armpits for both sides. Finished this last night and then went to bed, but I will pick back up in the body. I still have a lot of yarn. Like, I don't even think I'll use all of this in the body. I think I would have needed the other skein just for the sleeves anyway, but like, I didn't need a lot. I'll probably finish this one before I get done the body, or like sometime in the ribbing, which would be not convenient, but fine. I counted how many stripe rows I had in my sample, so I'm gonna just try to hit close to that before I try it on, because I'm lazy and I don't want to put this on barber cords, and I'm not going to do it right now anyway, so it's fine. This one changes pretty dramatically in blocking, because you do block widthwise a little bit to stretch out the stitches, because that's how the gauge is written in the pattern. You're not supposed to really block out the sleeves at all, though I may block them for just a tiny bit of length. I opted to do exactly the same as I did on my sample too, which is a 10.5 inch sleeve, which means it hits, here-ish, like this kind of mid mid forearm-ish, which I was like, is that awkward? But I liked how it looked on me in that. And also, this is such a light thing. I don't think I want a long sleeve thing. And I definitely don't know. Because of where the drop is, I don't want to just like a little baby short sleeve thing. So I feel like this is the right answer to have this like mid arm thing. So it'll be 3/4 sleeve. Look. So yeah, I'm not going to be fussed about it, and I'm just going to knit a little bit more, and then I will decide to try it on once I'm really close to what I think will be the right lengthwise. Like right now where this is hitting me is probably only like 2 or 3 inches under my bust, which means I've got to knit another like 5 or so inches before I would feel comfortable with where this is. So I will do that and continue on. That is supposed to be a size, I'm knitting a size 4. And I did make some adjustments. That's a 56-inch bust. The recommended ease is 16 inches. My bust is around 45, 46. I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles for everything but the ribbing, which is a 3, and that is lamb good fiber and classic fingering and mohair in the color. I'm going to need a whole flock of this. I made an adjustment to the, now that I did sleeves, I can tell you about this more. So I did make an adjustment to the sleeve depth. So before joining for the body, I knit an extra like 2 stripes, I think. So like a full little bit more than an inch in both front and back so that they matched. And because of the way you do short rows, you really can, like the seam does kind of sit on top of your shoulder. So they just match in length. Like by the armpit. Does this make sense? Okay. I added that to be able to have a slightly bigger sleeve. In the sample that I made for La Mercerie, the sleeve fit me, but it felt tight, and like that would be itchy in this yarn. And also like if you get warm, which this is kind of a warm weather top, awkward, right? So I decided, and I think a couple other people had also said this, that they just like, just lengthen it a little bit. So that's what I did. And then when I picked up, I still picked up in a 2/3 ratio, which is what she says to do. That gave me exactly 1 size bigger sleeve. And so I just did the size 5 sleeve. So if you have this pattern and you want a reference there, that's what I did. And that got me like exactly that without trying to like finagle the pickup. I just did 2/3 for the first sleeve, and I was like, great math. And I did the same thing for the second. So that was good. And yeah, now we're moving forward. So I'm very excited to get this one done. And I think that maybe next week it'll be done. So we'll see. I do want to work a little bit more on my Seasons cardigan, which is the one I skipped this week again. I don't think I worked on it at all last week. I did not work. I did not even pick it up. It's just been sitting in the bin. And I shall do that. I shall pick it up. Okay, the last project to talk about that I did work on, the last project, I mean, I did socks. I worked on the Elton, the Crosshatch, and this one, and that's it. 3 projects. And the socks, you know, took up quite a lot because I didn't even have the second sock cast on, or I just cast it on or something like that. So a lot of sock done, but I don't know. They don't actually take that long if you just concentrate on them. When they're a side project, they take a long time because you're not making like that much length progress at once, but it's, yeah, when you just go for it, it's not that long. So last week I had picked up the front of the right side, and this week I wanted to finish it and pick up the left side too, but I am so close to being done. I stole these needles last night. I'm so close to being done with this front. I think I have 1 pattern repeat, or not even quite a whole pattern repeat left. So I'm very close. You can kind of see from the side because it's more about, this is hard to tell because like, you can never tell exactly how far back it sits on your shoulder until you like have the body joined. But I think I'm, you know, like 1.5 inches or so off of, maybe 2 inches off of where they need to be at the same side on the, you know, on the body, on the outside. So I will do this week. I will definitely finish this, pick up this side. This has been still pretty enjoyable. I mean, I think that I'm like moving a little bit faster now in the pattern, but honestly, like this is just not memorizable. My friend Jennifer is also knitting this, and she was just like, gosh, I can't believe I'm still on the back panel. And I was like, I know, that really felt like it took me forever. This felt like it was going much, much faster. but I'm in the last gasp of it, right? To redo it for the left side, I think should be okay. It's just once I get to the body, I'm just concerned I'm going to stall out really hard. So I'm really trying to get there and prove to myself that I can do this all over crazy cable business. The nice thing at least is like you're not changing what cable you're doing throughout, so you don't have to really pay attention to the chart. Once you like are like, oh, okay, this is the whatever row of it, then I can just go without thinking a lot. So I don't know. I actually feel like the weirdest part is going to be the sleeve, because you'll always be working just one side of it, right? Like just working this pattern in the round, because at least now that I'm established, when I flip it over and I'm working on, because this is reversible, when I'm working on the wrong side, and that means I'm just, knitting the knits stitches and purling the purl stitches, that it's really easy for me to like remember which row I'm on. When you're doing it in the round, you have to remember what is like the row one, or evens and odds, right? What's the even, what's the odd? So I feel like that will be weirder. But anyway, I can't wait to pick up the second side. As a reminder, this is, I didn't say in the beginning, sorry, this is the Mila cardigan by Sorry Nordlund, who is Sorry N on Instagram. This is Explorer Knits and Fibers Earthy DK in the color Squim. And I am knitting a size 5, which is 49¼ inches. It is supposed to have 4¼ to 6 positive inches of ease, and I am going to have 3.5, 4, I don't know, something like that. So not far off of recommended ease. And then 4mm needles, and it is reversible. So you have this kind of, you've got seams on one side and not the other. What I'm interested in is the pickup, because I never think pickups look that pretty, but I do think she kind of did the same thing where you have this selvage edge on the inside. So you'll just have a seam around your shoulder too, but it's not like an unfinished seam, so like maybe it'll look fine. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I like it. I enjoy this side a lot, so I'm okay if this is like the predominant side, but I am going to do snap buttons so that I could wear it reversible. Okay, that's all for projects. I don't know if people like spin with me videos, but if you didn't see last week, I published a spin with me video that was for my last chain ply. That was the Gently Chaotic Knits colorway from Yarn Jam. This week, I just finished up my Christmas sock spin. So this was my second bobbin. This was my first. This one I started at Knit Weekend. This one I just did separately. And I did them in a 4, okay, it was ended up being a 4/9. So I didn't weigh these when I split it. I just split it in half because we were away for the weekend, right? So I just eyeballed it. Well, when I got down to actually getting towards the end of like the third bump I had in my 4. So I started with the 8 first, split it in half. I split that in 4. I split the other half in 8, right? I actually just split it in 4 and then I split it in 8 into 2 each of those, right? They seemed even-ish, but I was actually concerned that this was going to be a little bit lighter. When I got to the third one, the 4th bump was my biggest, and I did that intentionally because I wanted to see how much yarn I had left. The 4th was the biggest bump, and I had what I felt like was really close to this amount that was on here already spun. And I was like, I don't want to be left over with just a ton of one, right? So I don't need a whole skein for socks anyway, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can split off a sort of smaller amount, like not split that 4 in half, but split it a little bit smaller and leave myself a decent size 4 bump and put a 9th one on here. And that's what I did. And they're definitely more even. You can still tell that this one is skinnier. It's smaller, has less fiber, but the middle core of both of these are about the same size. So, but like they're, we have different 3D printed. So like they both fit on my bobbin, but neither of them are the size of the metal rod, right? So they're probably about the same size. I will ply them this week. I will see how much is left over. Anything left over is going to go on my monster skein anyway. And then, so that's not a big deal. This was pretty fun to ply up. This is Shaniko Silk from Yarn Jam. And the color is very, very merry. And there are 5 of us in my knit group. that are spinning this together, and we will cast on Christmas Eve on a little Zoom call. So that'll be really nice. I'm really excited to see, like last year I did self-striping by like how I like manipulated pulling my fiber apart. And this year I wanted to do a traditional fractal. I don't have any socks that are a fractal. I think everybody else was doing a 3-ply and I opted for a 2-ply because I have a hard time getting super, super thin, and I just didn't want to struggle with this one because it was the end of the year. There's a lot of other stuff going on, and I was like, this has got to be a kind of quick spin for me. So 2-ply socks. I also don't mind a 2-ply, like knitting with a 2-ply sock. I will do, like, I talked about this in the Spin With Me episode though too, like how you treat your yarn when it's wet is also like how floofy it will get. I want a sock weight yarn, but I definitely want the 2-ply to be easy to knit with. So I will thwack this and I will snap it, and I will hopefully give myself a little bit of that felting to make it easy to work with. And I don't know, I will probably apply this a little bit tightly. So this I'm hoping it's not like ropey, but I don't want it to be like excessively floofy because it's socks, and even though there's the silk content in there, I want it to be strong socks. And I'm okay if it's not super soft on my feet. I just want it to fit and wear nicely. I don't know what pattern I'll use. I might use something with like a little bit of texture. I don't think I'll do color work. I think I'll just use all the same color. I don't think I'll even do a contrast toe heel. And honestly, I might use the DRK Everyday. That's what Emily and Maya used last year. And it was just like, yeah, looked really great, finished sock wise. So maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, let's do acquisition first. And I will show you something that was, I'm going to pay her for this, but dyed for me by a friend. So this is from Ariel. Who, if you don't watch her on YouTube, is here on YouTube as Ari Knits, and she was in the podcaster collection with me, and she dyed this for me with intention. So I bought this, and I might have said something on the podcast. I bought this one. This is from Yarn Jam in the Shanico Natural Shanico during the podcaster collection last year. And I bought this knowing that I would want to, because Ariel had already spun hers up, that I would want to purchase something, a pink to go with it, because when Ariel spun hers, even though there's quite a lot of yellow in here and pink, it looked, she did a 2-ply fractal, looked predominantly like greeny yellow. Like that was the main colors. Ariel's one of my good friends, and she's still a pink girl. In my mind, yes, she likes those colors, but she's predominantly pink. So I wanted something that'll give this a more of a pink lean in the finished spin. This is probably something I will do for Theo, spin for her and make something like smallish for her. And so I'm going to use these 2 braids, and also I might do like a scarf for her for like when she's a little bit older. But anyway, I'm going to put these together. And so Ariel dyed this for me, and I told her to go with her like most favorite-ish pink. And I said, don't like experiment, don't do a bunch of things, just go for it with your heart. So she had some leftover. I think this might be like Rambouillet, feels Rambouillet-ish. I don't know if she told me, she might have. But yeah, you can see there's like some dusky gray-y brown bits in there, some really, really light pink. And then like it looks almost white here, but this all is saturated as a light pink. And then there's some more like pink parts there that look like, this is like, you know, like worn ballet flats or worn point shoes, ballet point shoes. That's like what I think of. A little bit of brown, a little bit of dust, a little bit of like worn, and like the really light satiny kind of look. So these will go together, live together for some project in the future. I don't think I'll spin these until the end of next year sometime, but I do want to. They'll be in the queue of things to do. Let's talk about, so that's my acquisition for the week. And now we can talk about books. This week I finished 4 books. So here they are. Oop, let me pull my white yarn. On my book snake. Oh, sorry, if you're new here and you're like, what is that? I'll just pull it out really quick for you to see. This is my book tracker for 2025. And these are all the books I've read this year. That is so long. I need to measure it. I don't know how long it is. He's got to be over 16 feet at this point. I'm not sure how much longer than that. He has a little snaky face and head, and he's really cute. He'll get named after my favorite book boyfriend that I've read this year. So like not just favorite all time, but of the books I've read this year. I have a couple front runners. I'm not going to tell you. I will tell you once I name him, which will be in our last episode of the year when he is completely done, or the first episode of 2026. So here is where we are for this week. This week I read 4 books, and they are one that I finished with my eyeballs called A Photo Finish. This is Gold Rush Ranch, book number 2 by Elsie Silver. I don't even know if I read the first one this year or if I read it sometime last year, but I do really love Elsie Silver books. I think Rose Hill is done now. So there were 4 books in that. The last one came out this year. That was my first series I started with her, and I just love me some like Canadian small town men. Okay. These ones are actually, that was just like small town, all kinds of jobs. This book is all about horse racing. Definitely was a horse girl growing up. And so I don't know if you can tell that by my like fixation on, I mean, I like sports romances also, fae romances. And I also really enjoy a cowboy romance. This one I would not classify as cowboy though. This is like rich boy cowboy. Anyway, this one actually, he's not even a cowboy. He's afraid of horses for part of this thing, but it revolves around horse racing. So the main character is Violet, who is a jockey, like new on the scene, trying to make a name for herself. And the main male character's name is Cole, and he is a veteran with some crazy PTSD, and also he runs a multi-billion-dollar company. So he's both like on the horse farm, but a billionaire. So we love that. Strong, silent, and scarred variety. So there's some kind of crazy revelations in this. 1 or 2 that I was like, I sort of saw that coming, but I wasn't sure what exactly it would be. And this is, let's call this a second chance-ish romance. There's some revisiting the past, but not an obnoxious amount. A little tiny sneak peek at the beginning of every chapter, which I really enjoyed, actually. And they were really short, like sometimes just a page or just a couple paragraphs. Okay, the next 2 books I read were continuing in the Bonds That Tie series by Bree. So the first of these here is book 4, which is called Forced Bonds. Okay, what I will go over here is, I don't know that I like said who the characters are, but I was like kind of curious the other day when I was putting these in here. I was like, who are all the characters that are on these? This one was clear. This is Gabe. So this is a series where there are people with superhuman abilities. They run the gamut of things like shape-shifting, telekinesis, mind control. What are the other things? Like someone's indestructible. And then there is the main girl, and at least what we know of, 2 of her bonds who have like these dark shadow powers where they're like just have shadows within themselves and they come out and they like murder. They're just murder abilities. They are called like the monster bond. Anyway, so in this world, most relationships are more than 2 people. And it could be just, there's a central bond always, and then they're like a spoke. They've got their other people. They're not necessarily all in a relationship together, though that can happen. And this one is one girl, 5 powerful dudes, and she's got the scariest of all of the abilities, which now we do know what they are and pretty much the extent, although she did mention in the 5th one that there's a 3rd ability and we don't know what it is, and she doesn't talk about it, and so that's why we don't know. Anyway, we're gonna find out. But this is book 4, and I like, so far the book's covers have kind of been like who she bonded with that book or who had the most growth or change. Anyway, so this one is Gabe, and Gabe has a revelation about his power in this one. But we're back in, I think that this one was good because we're in the sanctuary town that they've brought people to get away from the resistance, so they're not getting picked off in their like regular places that they're living. And I had to get this one immediately. Like I really wanted to start this one because they left you in a big cliffhanger in the third one. She does that for every book. She's just like at the very end, like, boom, here's a thing. And you're like, what? But this was good. So then in this book here, which is called Tragic Bonds, this is the book that I think most heavily features or has changes for Atlas. And so this Atlas on the cover here. And this one is that they have finally decided to stop being on the defensive with the Resistance, and they're going to go to to get the bad guys. They do. So this is a completed series. There are 6 books. We know that, like, you know, if you read the little synopsis, you know what's going to happen. So this is like, and these have been out for, I don't know, a while, 2022. So I'm not really spoiling anything, but I am going to tell you, just like, they kill the bad here, who she is in her mind brought up as the big bad. And that is not the end. There is something else afoot to completely kill off these bad guys. But for this one, I chose colors that I thought were like more, the background was a little bit lighter on this and had a lot of this like red pink business happening with like the flower and stuff. And she's finally getting it together with all of her bonds, figuring out their relationship, and that feels good that now they're like less angsty amongst themselves, more let's figure out what the big thing is. Oh, also the cliffhanger between this one and this one, like I immediately, like I have a lot of other books in my queue, but I was like, nope, I must, even though like I just got this one from the library, I was like, nope, I have to start it immediately because I need to know that this cliffhanger gets resolved, and it did. So if you get to book 4 and you're like, don't worry, just don't worry. Okay. The last book I read was the 4th of the Becka Mack series, Playing for Keeps, which is a hockey player romance world. There is a 5th one out, everybody. Don't worry. I am going to read the 5th one. And this one is about Jackson Riley, who is like the playboy. They're all like a little bit playboys before they find the right one, except for Baby Adam, who was our last book, and he's just a little best little nugget out there. But Jackson is like the bad boy enforcer for this team, the Vancouver Vipers, which is not really there is a hockey team in Vancouver. That is not their name. But anyway, they are, this is he meets, a girl while on vacation with another girl. And he's the worst kind of in the beginning. I mean, he's definitely the worst in the beginning, but he goes through a lot of personal growth in this, and you understand sort of his backstory. And I'm glad they gave him a good backstory, and you get why he is the way he is. And he he doesn't figure it out like that. He goes through some ups and downs, and the main girl, her name is Lennon, and she also goes through a lot of personal growth in this, but I thought this was like so believable. Boys need a second to like catch up with this, and she needed a second to get back her self-worth. She came out of a really bad, horrible relationship, and he proved to her pretty quickly, and she was just sort of like, oh, okay, I'm all in now. And he was like, I don't know, toes in, toes out. And then, you know, he finally figured it out, which is good. But it was like a really sweet, like she was being his rock. And I kind of love that, because I feel like sometimes in romance books, it's like he fell first and then like the girl just has to catch up, and like not in this one. I think they kind of fall at the same time. And then she's just like admitted it to herself earlier, and she's just like, I will be here as his support system while he figures it out. But he's still lovely human through all of it, even when he is trying to pull away. So loved it. I thought it was great. I love all these Becka Mack books. These have been a joy to read this year. Like they're all funny. The side characters are funny. The main characters you really fall in love with, like their relationship, and like they're all a little bit silly and kooky together, and it's not just like so serious, so in love, like we don't talk about anything. Like they're funny. Like part of this thing is that she's a photographer and he's a cat dad. He's pretty obsessed with this cat, which you hear about in book 4, but she like full on does cat photography sessions with him and has an Instagram, and he's got a bunch of followers, and it's very like funny, that part. So The last book though, there is a 5th book, and I was like, the only couple that hasn't had a story is the couple that was already married in the beginning of this whole telling. I'm really excited to read that book actually, because I think that there might be like a little bit of history of how they got to where they are, because Kara and Emmett are the last couple that like they were already established, right? And everybody else is like just getting it together. So I'm excited to read theirs, but I knew, and I just read the synopsis, I knew that their book is going to be about them in their struggle with infertility, because that's like a part of what's happening in the story. Everybody else is getting pregnant, and the whole time Kara is like trying to get pregnant. So while everybody else is getting together and getting pregnant, Kara is not. And so it's going to be this journey. And obviously this is a thing that we struggle with in our relationship. It's very different for every couple, and like what is happening and how they discover and like what you have to go through. And we have a bunch of friends that have done IVF and IUF and other things like that. And it's such a personal thing, but I really appreciate, hopefully so far, I think she's going to treat this tenderly. And I'm glad that there are more books that are like, this is still a romance, but it's also showing the hardships that happen maybe after you're in a relationship. And infertility is a really hard thing to go through. So making people feel a little less alone, I think, is a great thing that books can do for you. So that is my book snake for now, and all the books I read this week. Okay, lastly, let's go over a couple of plans. Okay, so I just wound up a bunch of yarn for a new project. This is the last thing on my Make 9. So the Mila is on my Make 9. I will try to attempt to get that done this year. And this is the other thing on my Make 9. So these are 2 of the 3 skeins I've wound up, and I've got more skeins here so you can see what they look like. I've been trying to sort of match like how yellow they are. It's really hard to tell until you get them caked up, but even when they're caked up, you can't really tell like the color distribution in the middle. But I am gonna wind up probably one more, so I'll have 4 total wound up. I have 1 more in the kitchen, and then I'll sort of match. Now, I picked the cow cardigan. The cow cardigan is a project by a pattern by Claire Jackson that I got for one of my many test knits from her. So this is a worsted weight yarn. This pattern is meant to be a DK plus lace pattern, but it's 18 stitches. I think you can get, and I think it's supposed to be, I mean, I can get whatever needle I need to make that, but I think it's knit with a 5mm. Now, once I caked these up, I was like, ooh, woof. These are a bit more yellow than white, just in that background color, which I knew. By the way, this is yarn from our friend Erin at Backloop Yarn and Fiber, who's no longer dyeing yarn. This was a order issue once when I bought from her. It was actually when I bought my dark teal yarn from her. There was like a mix up in the back end of her system. Not even like my order showed that I had ordered the dark teal color, and her system had shown that I ordered this Tia Beanies color, because they were like listed together, but one was the variegated and one was the tonal. So I got the tonal of this pairing, and I ordered a sweater quantity for something, for my friendship cardigan, or my friendship pullover actually. So when this came, I was like, oh, Erin, this is wrong. And then she looked at my order and she was like, oh, that's weird that it came out that way. But she was like, I'll just re-dye for you. Do you want to keep this? And you can have a steeper discount on it. And I was like, okay, I guess so. So I kept it. I do like the color, but I don't really love it for me. So here's what I've decided. I need to do a gauge swatch for this and see if I can get gauge, maybe with a 4.5mm needle instead, with these 2 held together. So I think I have enough of this. This is just Drops Kid Silk in their unicolor, and this is like a navy color. I had a project planned for this like several years ago when I bought it. I don't love this mohair very much. It is a little bit itchy. It's fine, but whatever. Because this is a cardigan and I'm mostly intending to wear it over top, and it's not going to be super close to my neck, I think I'll be okay to use it for this. So my plan is to gauge swatch and see if I can get gauge with them together, which will lift this to be much, much bluer. But this is a pretty light mohair, so it's not also going to hopefully change the gauge very much. So I'm going to gauge swatch and see what I can get with this, bring this whole thing to be bluer. This is obviously like a more navy than a lot of these pops of teal, but there is quite a bit of, like, you can see it in this one especially, there is navy in here. Like, this is not a, you know, if you're gonna pick one color, it's not the worst color to pick that goes with this. So we'll see how that goes. And so I don't think it'll change my plans. It might change the size I pick if I can't get on gauge, or if I'm like 19 stitches, I might just pick one size down. You know, I don't really know. This is supposed to have, she just calculated this at a 20% ease. So for me, that's like 8 to 9 inches. I mean, or more, 9 to 12 maybe. I will probably, so then size wise, I would pick, there's a size 50, which has only got 4 inches. So if I'm pretty off gauge, I'll probably pick that one. Or I can pick the size 56. I don't know if I want this to be quite that big. Like, that's going to feel maybe a little bit too big on me, a 56, even if I was on gauge. So I'll probably pick a size 4. And then even if I'm off gauge, it'll be maybe a little bit bigger, but not a ton. I guess we'll do some math and figure it out. Okay. And then we talked about my socks. So really, those are the 2 things that'll get cast on this week for sure. I would like to finish my Elton. I don't think I will finish anything else, though. If I could get quite a lot of work done on my Seasons cardigan and actually get my sleeves really done on that, that might make me feel a little bit better on this end of year push. We're already midway through November. We're gonna come up into the end of the year quite soon. I do need to get socks done for kids. I know I can pump a pair of kids socks out in a weekend if I'm not doing much else. I don't think I'll do that, but through this week, maybe I can just get one of the pairs done. So we'll kind of see. Since they are kid socks, like Theo, I did her oxbow was the last pair I made for her, which was last year's Andrew Mowry pattern. I might do like just a 2x2 rib on this to make it a little bit stretchier for these kiddos. They don't need a lot of width stretch, like it's more lengthwise for them. And since they're not going to be here, I'm kind of just like guessing a little bit. Theo and her cousin Margaret, who's the first pair that I'll make, have almost the same size foot. Theo's foot is just wider, so I might just try it on her. Anyway, those are the plans. Work on some socks, cow cardigan cast on. If I feel really ambitious, I'll get the flare tee cast on because that is bottom up, and so it'd be nice to just get some of the body started. Like, heck, if I could just do the ribbing, that would be awesome. But I'm not going to make that promise. I'm going to apply my sock yarn and hopefully wash it and have it all ready for next week. And then I might just get something casually started for like an end of year-ish spin. I don't know. I've got this big project, which is the fade that I wanted to do from Paisley Knits. I actually think I'm going to omit this bottom color from that. Okay. I don't know, you know, what I'll use that with. I've got this like really pretty blue from Ariel still. And then I've got some of these, like, I think I have 3 braids of this beach ball here. I've got some of these. So I've got like some of these braids I could get into that I don't have specific plans for, but that are just, you know, sitting here and could be used. These are like maybe all merino. So it might be nice to do like a little bit of a merino spin. We'll see. I don't know. Who knows? I think it's more of like a color vibe this week to see like what I really want to mess with. I also have some just like other stuff that are not pretty braids, but are like maybe bats or some other things over here. About like 1 or 2 pretty braids I could move into here too. And I have 3, I have my Charlie bats from Flock, and I have 2 other small bats. So I might actually do those, one of those to just do some long draw practice. We'll see how I'm feeling headspace wise. But yeah, so projects are upcoming. As a life update, also, it was a bit of a hard week over here. Mike's dad was in the hospital and had emergency surgery. He is doing better. And back at home, but it was like a lot this weekend. His parents do not live here in Seattle anymore, but they live in Hood Canal, and so they were transferred up to UW for the surgery. So his mom stayed with us for the week when she wasn't at the hospital, and all the brothers spent a lot of time at the hospital, and they have a dog, so their dog spent the week here. Our dog and their dog are begrudgingly friends. They'll lay like on the same couch, but they won't touch each other. They have a golden retriever, and she's the most golden retriever dog. Like, she just is, you know, here for the pets, here for the food. And she's really cute. But and Theo had the best time being with the two of them, and she's kind of unaware of what was going on, though we definitely told her a little bit about what's happening. So you know, we're just waiting to see what's next for him. But yeah, it was a hard week over here, and like emotionally, but it was like a lot of time with me and Theo and the dogs. And while we played a lot of trucks, I also did, once I put her down, just get to like escape a little bit into reading and knitting. And so did get some stuff done for me this week as well. One last thing to bring up, yarn related though, we'll just end on a positive note here, is positive but also break your heart, is that Jess from Witchfire Fibers has started the color releases for her Throne of Glass specific Mask Made Me Cry collection. So she did a Mask Made Me Cry collection last spring or early summer, and I got a bunch of colors from that, and I got like maybe 3 projects worth of things, and I have knit 2 of them. Maybe that's actually all I got. Yeah, maybe I just got 2 projects. I got minis and one skein to make my slanty stripes, and then I got the hard hitter of Take It Off to do my Compass Crew. Actually, I got like just later in this color, which won't be in this collection because this one is from the ACOTAR. This one is I've Been Looking For You, which I want to make a specific shawl from Lindsay Fowler with. But okay, in the teaser video that she put out, little reel, I just want you to know I made that sweater. That is actually not a collection from, or color from the collection, but I don't think so. It was this called Coven Sisters. I think it was like from, I don't know what collection it was from, but anyway, it's really pretty, actually not far off of this color, a little bit deeper color, but that's the checker plate sweater that I finished this spring, and I love that pattern. That is one I'm going to purchase, I think, from this collection, a sweater quantity for that. I'm also already making some of my list. I did do my Paisley Knits order last week, so you'll see that when it comes in. I actually decided nothing for ZZ Textiles. I love that collection. She does have the sweater quantity library open later. I couldn't make a decision. There wasn't anything that I really wanted to make, and so I might look for leftovers later or like extras. I still really love the collection. I just knew I was gonna buy for the Paisley Knits, and so that was a little higher priority for me. But yes, so I am gonna go a little, hopefully not too crazy, but I'm definitely gonna buy yarn from the Throne of Glass collection. The first 2 colors out, and she said the first like few colors are gonna be for the neutral loving things, but she's got jewel tones in here. She told me this. I didn't get to sneak peek any of them, but I'm really excited to see what comes out. I know some of the colors because they were released last time, like Live, Manon, Live, and Better World. And so there's some other colors I know that are coming out that I'm like really excited for. But I've got a couple of projects in mind that I'll probably want to buy from this collection. The checker plate is like the number one though, because I think I'm going to just, I think I'm going to use like maybe her Falkland DK, or she has a woolen DK that I might use for this one. So I'm really excited. I think she also has like a new base or 2. And if you didn't see, the other fun collection coming out this like right now, a color releases, is Kate from Red Door Fibers is doing a K-pop Demon Hunters collection, and the colors so far are so fun. I'm really here for it. So I won't really like splash up pictures for either of those because those are just in the beginnings, but you should go check them out if you're on Instagram, or I think maybe they both have newsletters, and so we'll be like releasing some stuff. So yes, things that are coming, new, other things. I think the Throne of Glass one at least will be December 6th for the pre-order opens, and Kate's I think is the end of November, so maybe like Thanksgiving weekendish or something, so just for you to keep in mind. I don't think there's gonna be as many colors for the K-pop Demon Hunters either, so I don't know, not sure. Unclear. But that's all that's happening here. So as always, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope that you got some good knitting or chores done. Please let me know what you were working on below. I love to hear your project inspiration. Also, I'm very interested. I've just started really thinking about what are my next year goals. I've got a change of this year of socks. I don't think I'll do year of socks, but I think I will do one skein projects, one a month. So that could be shawls, it could be socks, it could be a hat, it could be something else, just to get some of these single skeins. I do have projects, but I don't prioritize to get them done. So that's one. And then I probably will have like an in and out goal again, though I've been really happy with how this library is looking. And so I don't know. I might be prioritize some older yarns as like maybe six to 10 sweaters and older yarns will be like a goal. I'm not really sure, like yarns purchased pre 2024 or something like that. So anyway, but do you have goals set for next year? How have you been doing on your 2025 goals? And yeah, what are you working on? What are you trying to push for the end of the year? Do you have anything that you're like, you need holiday knitting to get done, or you have some project you just want off your needles before you get into next year? I'm always curious to see how people kind of orient around goals. Do you just fly by the seat of your pants? This is also totally a good answer. I support that. Like I have had some plans. I'm like, I'm going to cast this on. But you know what? I've just been like focused on finishing some things, or just, the other focuses of life happening. And that is okay also. I think moving with your heart is just as good as sticking to a plan, or maybe even better for this is our hobby. I like plans. I enjoy making them. I like to make goals. So for me, it's not really a stressor because I also know I could just not hit them and be okay. But it's a good thing to kind of keep me focused, so I'm not too squirrel brain around like just starting a bunch of things and leaving projects to languish. That is a thing that I don't enjoy, so that's how I kind of keep myself on pace. So I want to know how you do for you. Let me know below. If you want to join our Discord, please do. That link is always at the bottom here. Thank you so much again for joining. I hope that you have a really nice weekend, whenever you're watching this, and that you move your body, do some stretching, and I'll talk to you next week.